Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier, Mike's Instant Movie Review. Just saw the movie Unsung Hero about the recording artist Rebecca St. John, real name Rebecca Smallbone. I wasn't terribly familiar with the subject matter of this movie or her family or their legacy in entertainment and Christian music, but this movie told me all I needed to know. I did enjoy the movie. Should you go see it? Should you go not? Sure, why not? Go see the movie. It won't kill you. You know, the movie is good. Probably 3 3/4. Now I'm going to get into my spoiler section of the show, folks. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, I'm kind of blind. So I'm just going to have to do this with one eye. But I need to make this review for you, folks. So let's talk about this movie. Australian people, spoilers, I guess. Australian people, turn of the decade being 1990, folks. And throughout this movie, you'll hear things like Jesus Jones, Right Here, Right Now. You'll hear a couple of songs. There was a Seal song that I thought came more like in 1994 or 95, which seemed like the song, if that was was a Kiss from a Rose or one of those big Seal songs back when Seal was a big thing. I think that song might have been released after this movie takes place, but I could be incorrect. But yeah, it's nice to hear like some familiar music from those times. And you won't see anybody on smartphones in this movie. You won't see anybody, checking their Blueberry or whatever the fuck, their Blackberry, because it's a time piece, it's a period piece, and so forth. They didn't go overboard with the 90s fashion or anything like that, which I thought was good. The movie takes place, we start in Australia. There's this concert promoter, I believe his name is David Smallbone, and my lighting is horrible. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm trying. But he puts all his money into this. He's got a mansion. He's got a beautiful wife and 6 kids. And he kind of rolls the bones. He puts it all in for an Amy Grant tour in Australia, mate. And unfortunately, Australia's hit with this big recession after he's booked the concerts and before Amy Grant comes over. So he loses $500,000 in that situation. So he plays big, he gambles big, and he loses big. Now his family's in quite a quandary. And because he's lost all this money, well, everyone loves a front runner, or everyone is a front runner. The other artists don't want to work with him anymore because they're like, well, hey, you were putting all your attention on Amy Grant. Look what you did to her, asshole. So basically, this guy can't get any concert promoting work because all the artists turn against him. They turn on him. So he says, I'm going to take my family from the outback, from the land of kangaroos and bushwhacking and so forth, and take them over to Nashville, USA, blah, blah, blah. And he figures he'll just be this awesome promoter over there. And then he has like this ongoing, I think there's this phone call montage where he talks to this guy, Eddie. And I guess Eddie's like the big hotshot producer in the world of Christian music, which I know some of these things vaguely. I guess he managed a band called DC Talk, Decent Christian Talk, like the white guy rap band, or I guess they had a black guy in them too, but it's a rap Christian band that kind of made a bit of an impact in that era. So this guy Eddie is like their manager or whatever the fuck, and David and his 6 kids put themselves into the lawn care business and the home improvement business. They're working under the table, and so he's humbled. That's the lesson of this movie, is the father is humbled because he goes from being this rich and fancy concert promoter to suddenly he's cleaning Eddie's toilet, and he's accepting a gift from the Jed from church, who gives him a fucking van. Now, there's a part where this Jed individual is like his buddy, but Jed is kind of overstepping his bounds. But I kept wondering, why doesn't Jed just like give fucking David a job? Like, if David's this awesome concert promoter, right? Jed is a recording artist. He doesn't have a fucking phone number of someone to call and say, hey, my asshole friend from Australia here is a great concert promoter, give him a job. I just don't understand why these things don't happen, but who am I to judge? See, that's the thing with this movie. It's at times it does struggle with who is the real hero of this story? Who is the unsung hero? I mean, I tend to think it's mom, the mom actress or the mom character, because she's the glue that keeps this family together, for Christ's sakes. Or is it the daughter who her talent and her willingness to share her talent with the world, Rebecca Smallbone, perhaps she's the hero because her voice gets them out of poverty and destitution. Or maybe it's Jed, the neighbor who gives them a fucking van and is paying their hospital bills and all this such thing. Nobody's thanking Jed. Well, I'm thanking fucking Jed. Or maybe it's good old dad, even though he flops once in a while and he fucks up and he can't do things right every once in a while. But for the most part, he's the one that got him to this dance in the first place. His sperm produced all these fucking children, for Christ's sakes. So who is the unsung hero of this movie? I think and this is another one of those movies where the family basically, like one of the Smallbone kids co-directed the movie. It's one of those deals where the actual family was involved in making the movie. So yes, it's from their perspective. But I did like the fact that they got in pretty intense with mom and dad having a big argument and so forth. I mean, at times they took some of the shine off their own shinola. I mean, I've said that before in other reviews. I believe about the Bob Marley movie a few months ago, that whenever the person is involved in, making their own fucking movie, they're going to clean it up. They're going to sanitize it. And so the grimiest we get in this movie is dad, cleaning the toilet, but also like mom and dad having their big fight. But the next scene is dad taking the daughter to her big audition, or one of her big auditions. So it's not like their fight really lasted, okay? But that's fine. I mean, look, if you've got the money to make a movie about yourself, then go ahead and do it. You might have seen or may not have seen my award-winning movie, Disregard the Vampire, a Mike Messier documentary, which you can find simply enough on 1 Minute of Camera Films YouTube channel, and you can discover my self-analysis and what I put myself through in that fucking film. So anyway, but this movie's good. I mean, I think, for a family movie, music, whatever the fuck, faith, that's the thing with these movies. I mean, some of the last 10, 15 years, all these Christian movies come in under the radar. They don't, wave Kirk Cameron flag across the fucking movie. You have to go to the movie, and then you're like, oh, it's a Christian movie. So this is kind of one of those. Oh, for God's sakes. So I like the movie. I mean, interesting stat, in fact, this movie was just timed in a way that I could get to the theater right on time for when it was playing. The movie was supposed to start at 7. They give you about 20 minutes of previews, so I'm trying to get in. I'm in there like 7:15. I'm seeing the tail end of the previews, and the movie was listed as open captioning. Now, if you haven't experienced this is for our hard of hearing friends who want to read the words across the screen, as you might be doing now if you're reading the closed captioning. But in the movie theater, you could actually go to a performance now, a screening or a showing, as they say in the industry, of the film with the open captioning. So I said, I'll go see the open. It's just the timing was the open captioning. I'm halfway either way. Like, I don't prefer it, but it's okay if I have to sit through it. So I get into the theater. There's some commercial for a cartoon, and I notice there's double captioning. What does that mean, Mike? Well, I've never seen this before. There's something amiss in the theater because there's one set of captioning on the screen, white letters reading the words that's being said in the preview. And then there's another set of captioning, and they're overlapping. So you're giving yourself a fucking headache trying to watch this goddamn movie or the preview. And I'm like, okay. There's one elderly couple in the auditorium. I'm not going to talk to them. I could have said, hey, what's going on here? I didn't say anything. I just leave. I go. I talk to the proper authorities, meaning some 15-year-old kid working in the goddamn movie theater, and I explain to him the situation. Of course, I tell him exactly what's happening, but he can't relay that information to whoever the fuck. I have to stand there and wait for the manager guy who comes out, and I have to explain to him what's going on because, these kids can't communicate, all right? So I have to, the guy's like, oh, the captioning's not working. So he just thinks that the captioning's not on. And I said, no, there's 2 sets of captioning. Ah! So he stumbles off into oblivion. I go back into the theater and the movie's already going. So now I'm totally confused because this movie like starts off with a flashback and all this yin and yang. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I'm thoroughly confused. And then the movie's going on for about 5 or 6 minutes with still the double captioning going on. And I'm just sitting there suffering because now I'm like, okay, I'm already kind of confused because I missed a moment of the movie. Do I miss more moments of the movie to go and complain again? Or do I sit here patiently and hope that they fix it? Well, as soon as I had that thought bubble, which is like 5 or 6 minutes into watching this movie with the double captioning, this teenage gentleman comes into the theater, a person working at the theater, and he gently says, hey folks, like the movie freezes and then it stops. And then the kid is in there and he says, hey everybody, which is me, like this couple, he doesn't even see me because I'm sitting in the back. He's like, hey folks, we're going to start the movie again. The captioning's not working. We're going to start it with the non-caption, so we have to switch it over. And if anyone needs the captioning, go to guest services and they'll figure it out. So basically, if you're hard of hearing, if you came to this closed captioning because you actually are hard of hearing and need to read the words, well, you're fucked. Now, luckily, the elderly couple, apparently neither one of them was hard of hearing or they were just stoic. And I'm not hard of hearing, okay? So, like, I guess, we'll just watch it regular. What the fuck? Now, I'm not upset about it, but I mean, at this point, it's like 7:40. So I mean, this whole perfect timed movie for me was not being perfectly timed because we're losing like 20 minutes here because of this activity. But at least I'm seeing the movie without double captioning. I mean, I can say that for this experience. So the movie starts and I watch it and there you go. So I mean, it was fine. But this is the lesson. You ready? If it wasn't for me being in this auditorium, this elderly couple would have sat there and suffered through the double captioning. I don't think that either one of them was going to stand up and go talk to some kid and explain the situation. Like, they seemed pretty planted in their seats, and they were making no effort to get the situation resolved. It was me. I'm the guardian angel of the goddamn movie theater, apparently, of the auditorium. And I've discovered this many times. Whenever there's a noise issue or a what do you call it? A cropping issue with the movie, or the ratio's off, or whatever the fuck is going on. Whenever there's a fucking issue, or the air conditioning's not turned on, I'm always the person who stands up, misses a minute or two, or whatever's necessary of the fucking film. I'm always the goddamn one to go talk to someone and fix things, okay? That's just my role in this grand picture of this situation, because most people, either they don't realize what's going on, or they're either ignorant of the fact that they are perfectly encouraged to go and tell someone what the hell's wrong with the movie. But most people will just sit there and suffer in silence, and then they'll bitch about it later, and then they won't go back to the movies. I, on the other hand, am the type of individual, I will rise from my seat, I will speak articulately and politely to the people working at the theater, and I'll get things fixed. But I've just noticed, for whatever the fuck reason, most assholes in the world will just sit there and accept the abuse of a double captioning or the microphone poking in at the top because the fucking movie is off its kilter, or whatever the fuck. But I don't know if you people are like me, where you'll be the one to take the one for the team, discuss things, make the problem aware to the people working at the theater, and hopefully get it resolved. And if nothing else, then they start throwing out the free certificates for other screenings. I'm always the one to speak up, and I've just noticed, I don't know why, because I'm just more of a man. I have more integrity, or maybe I just don't have the fear, or perhaps because in my youth, I worked at the movie theaters, I was a ticket taker and so forth, and so I would never want someone to pay good money to go see a movie and not be able to thoroughly enjoy it, or to have some distraction, like a bad audio situation or whatever the fuck. I would not want people to think that way of their experience. I mean, that's why you leave the fucking house. So if this is a life lesson for any of you fucks, don't be afraid to speak up. So this movie was fine. It was good. I guess I didn't really talk about the goddamn movie. I mean, it's your typical thing of like kids rallying together, dad has a crisis, guy with a problem movie. You know, that's one thing. Like, who is the central character? It kind of bounces around between, like, first you think the mom is the central character, then you think it's dad and his failings, then it's the daughter is risen up, and then at the end of the movie, you find out all these people did all these wonderful things. You know, they produced some films, and they solved nuclear war, and they cured cancer. Like, this family has done so much for us. It's odd that I haven't heard of them before. But, you know, Small Bones / St. John, whatever the fuck. Good movie, you know, coming of age in a sense. I mean, but it's fish out of water, the Australian fish, the American water. Who is the unsung hero? Is it Jed, the friend? Is it Jed's wife? Is it whoever the fuck? I don't know. Movie was good. Go to MikeMessier.com. You can scroll to the bottom. You can see all my wonderful links for all my wonderful things, or not. You can buy my books for a change. You can go to One Man and a Camera Films and see my wonderful films. You can go to One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan to see my wonderful wrestling takes and sports